This is the Shy Rise Show, brought to you by the Englewood Enterprise Gallery, of course. This is our live call-in show, broadcasting this season every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Keep in mind, next week will be our last week for this season. So, you know, as we go on, the episodes get more and more interesting. Feel free to give us a call at 312-738-1060. And once again, we are the Englewood Enterprise Gallery, located at 7039 South Wentworth Avenue. You can reach us at our website at www.englewood-enterprisegallery.com, and please feel free to reach out to us on email at enterprisegallery@gmail.com. That's enterprisegallery@gmail.com. And once again, thank you for joining us here at the Englewood Enterprise Gallery, the Southside's newest creative and co-working space, where we network with artists, community developers, and people doing uplifting things in the community to continue to uplift the community, of course. And a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I love to brag on the awesome things that we have going on in the Englewood community, but I also like to show you with a video. So why don't you check this out? Feel free to call in and let me know what you think, and let's network. All right, that's just a little snippet of what we like to call Operation Book Box. That is a project where we promote literacy and creativity by painting these boxes that serve as book exchanges. All right, and we're always looking for people who would love to place one of our book exchanges in their business or facility. So feel free to give us a call or me a call at 773-719-9848. Well, I've had something interesting that I've been wanting to share for a very long time, and I finally worked up the courage to share it with our audience out there in TV land, so bear with me. We got a very interesting show today, and I also have a very interesting guest coming on very shortly, but I'm going to jump right to it because you might find it interesting, all right? So this is a little project that I've been working on. And this is the side view of a brain, right? And I want to show another way in which art and creativity come together as well as science. So I'm going to start with this number 1 that you see right here. And you can probably pull you one of these down off the internet. And if you find it interesting, do it at home. I'm going to start with the number 1, which is the thalamus. And I'm going to draw a circle around that thalamus. All right, that's number 1. Then number 2, all right, is the pituitary. So I'm going to draw a dot right down here by this pituitary, all right, and I'm going to do something like this, okay, bringing my dot around this ridge and up to my 3rd point, which is the hypothalamus. So we went from the thalamus to the pituitary to the hypothalamus, which is this area right here, right? So number 4 is the pineal gland. And I'm going to put a dot right here at the pineal gland. And what I'm going to do with this dot, all right, is I'm going to bring that dot like a little arc coming around this way, okay? And I'm going to bring that line I just made around the point 5 right there, as you see, called the fornix. And these are all parts of our brain. And I bring this arc right back around to where I started, which was the pineal gland. So I went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. All right, let me see. What else do I have left? Now, point 6. So for point 6, I'm going to start back up here by my hypothalamus, and I'm going to bring me a line all the way down there to my medulla and put a little curve on it. All right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come on through here, and I'm going to darken these lines a little bit, and I'm going to darken that line a little bit. And I followed my steps 1 through 6, and this is what I ended up with. All right, now this looks a lot like that. And the purpose of that exercise, I'm happy if y'all were patient with me with that little creative work exercise, because I think throughout history there's been an interesting connection between art and science and the human body and different things like that. So the purpose of me sharing that exercise is that the Egyptians used signs, symbols, and icons to teach. All right? And this eye right here that we see is that a lot of people are familiar with. Some people may call it the Eye of Osiris or the Eye of Heru or the Eye of Ra. It's known by many names, many more than I've just shared with you, right? But it's also known as the third eye. Yes, the third eye, right? The third eye, some people talk about, is a place in the mind responsible for producing vision unlike your other two eyes. The third eye, somewhere up here in your head. So, if we look at this eye right here, and we see how this eye that the Egyptians delivered to us in their symbolism fits right there in the middle of our head. Quite interesting. I'm going to show you that one more time. That's just a little bit more of Operation Bookbox right there. Once again, feel free to connect with us if you like to donate some books to the book exchange. If you like to give us a space to place one of our book boxes to promote literacy and creativity. But I just wanted to share that little exercise with you there. You know, if you got a VCR or something like people used to have back in the days, you could have probably recorded that and play it back and follow steps 1 through 6, you know. And it's something magical about that right there. All right, that third eye, something magical. It's so magical, I didn't even mention that I had a guest that just appeared out of nowhere. All right, so my mystical guest that's joining us for today is my very good friend, Mr. Dwayne Jackson. Thank you for joining us once again, Mr. Jackson. And we like to call him one of our neighborhood economic gurus and financial activists out there continuing to promote the greater good of upliftment as well as prosperity for everybody in the hood. Thanks for joining us once again.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. So, man, it's a lot going on out there all over the place. And I know me and you were talking earlier, and I think that you wanted to reminisce with us a little bit about some historical economic phenomenon, shall I say, in the communities that we live in. Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely. Tell me more about that, my brother.
You know, specifically, I want to touch on this for a second because this is very, very powerful. I think the number one thing that I've ever studied, I've traveled across the world, and it's always studying self. I think the more that we know about ourselves, the more powerful we become, right? It makes us feel more powerful. We value ourselves. And what I've been noticing in terms of history, that determines usually our communities are in direct reflection with how we view ourselves as individuals.
Heavy, yes.
Very, very much so, very much so. And it's interesting you say that. You see, I got this piece on my hat right there.
Right,
that's
most
the
definitely.
Piece there.
Yes.
So when I wear this piece, it's me reminding myself that I have to work on me so that I can be able to help other people as well. So
yes.
And right now, what's really sad is, so for example, we're looking at like the Chatham community, right, south side of Chicago. I was looking at some numbers. In September, there was over $19 million that was spent on the Illinois lottery. Okay, over $19 million. But then some of those same people in that community, most of them don't even have I'm not going to say most, but statistics show, it's not my opinion, but statistics show that the average black person in these areas don't even have $1,000 in our bank accounts in case of emergency.
Wow. That's interesting. That is interesting, man. It's heavy.
Yeah, it's really heavy.
You know?
It's really heavy.
Yeah.
But what's even deeper is that if we really, and we talk about knowledge of self, when we look at the history of the lottery was started by black people in Chicago.
What?
If you look at the...
Oh, man, come on, tell me more about that.
Listen.
The lottery that we all know and love, not the scratch-offs maybe, but the numbers, huh? The lottery that we all know and love was... Now, I know brothers and sisters be wanting to take credit for a whole lot, man, but tell me about how the lottery started right here in the black community.
Absolutely. You know what? I had doubts about it first, but there's a book. If you want to read about this book, there's a book called The Policy Kings. And you can... Well, I can't tell you. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you where you can find it. But I'll say this, because I'm not going to promote. But I'll just say, in this book that I read, Policy Kings is the book. And in that book, it's actually the author is from Chicago. And he details the history of Bronzeville. Bronzeville was one of the most popular. There's actually a show that's out right now called it's about like Bumpy Johnson and the people in Harlem and how they were running numbers.
Okay.
Right? But all of that was based on Bronzeville in Chicago in the 1930s. I don't know if you know, but the Great Depression that happened in 1929. There was a lot of people that we look at that history and we think, oh, there was a lot of people that were really hurting, that were very poor, but not in the black community on the south side of Chicago. There were there were hundreds of millions of dollars that was circulated in that community. But it was based on the lottery. It was based on the lottery. But it wasn't called the lottery. It was called policy at that time. Okay.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm a little familiar with the story, but I also think that it was that going on in the community that allowed them to be able to put out loans in our community to fund some of the most notable businesses, and institutions that we know of in this community. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that was amazing to me to see as I was reading the book and I interviewed the author of the book. And it was just interesting to see that everything from even the mayor, Harold Washington, being elected was very heavily involved around the influence of the policy. And those people that were, that were responsible for that. I mean, even the Chicago Defender, there was another paper called, I think it was Chicago Bee. It started with a B. I forget the name of it. But you can Google that up. But everyone, if they wanted money, for the most part, they didn't go to a bank. Many of them, just like today, it's hard to go to a bank to get money.
Right.
But you went to people in your community who were actually making things happen. Even the politicians went there, the business owners went there as well.
Yeah, that is very interesting because I know that you are very knowledgeable in another area. But before I get to that, because I posed a question out there to the people that were listening, the few listeners that we have out there. And feel free to call in if you hear something interesting. The Englewood Enterprise Gallery, let me make sure I do this. We got to remind people who we are and what we got going on. The Englewood Enterprise Gallery, 7039 South Wentworth Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Have a lot of different things going on, youth art programs, and many other things like that. But back to you. We were talking about our ability not to always be able to go to a bank and get access. And I know that there are a couple mechanisms. There are a few things going on. One thing that I like to share with people is, like me, I got a retirement a retirement program that I pay into.
Okay.
And I've had to loan money to myself many times at a lower rate than I would have if I went to a bank, and I don't have to worry about credit checks and all that other stuff. So there are people that understand not the power of money, but the power of currency, which is currency is connected to current and a flow of energy.
Right.
The flow produces what it is you need. You know, so it ain't always about money per se, because currency.
Which is also why a lot of the most wealthiest places are near water. If you look at
Most
it, because of
definitely.
the flow of the water, it allows the commute. But keep going.
That's interesting, because a lot of people don't know that the Chicago flag, they don't even know what the symbols are on the Chicago flag. The two blue lines on the Chicago flag stand for the bodies of water that help keep Chicago great. It's the Chicago River and Lake Michigan, and that is how Jean-Baptiste du Sable, you know, the founder, Haitian brother, you know, we was talking about him last week, interestingly enough, you know, but the true founder and father of Chicago, our great forefather, Jean-Baptiste du Sable, you know, he got here on the body of water that brought, you know, he was a trader, and he came here and established business, and business goes along the flow.
Absolutely.
All right. So bringing it back around to currency, when you understand how currency operates, you recognize that money is just paper, but it's power in the knowledge on how things are created.
You know what's scary about that though, when you say money is just paper, it's to the point where money is now just like almost digits and numbers on a computer right about now.
Bookkeeping.
You know,
yes,
over 80% of most of the money right now that's being circulated, a lot of it is all digital. A lot of digital money that's being moved. And that's really scary. And in my opinion, it's scary because it's hard it's what they call inflation, right? So it's hard to really determine what the real value is. This is why, for example, I can have $5 today, but then tomorrow it's only worth $4.99.
Right.
You know, because the value of the dollar is going down. People think that the cost of expenses is going up, but no, it's really your dollar is going down in value. That's why it takes more dollars to pay for something today than it did yesterday.
Yes, most definitely. They say that the dollar is worth less than 5% of what it started out as. Just like, you know, our grandparents tell us about how gas was 5 cents a gallon. You know, now it's $5 a gallon.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's the flip the script. It's the went up $4.95, or shrunk 4,950% the value.
And now it's extremely scary now because people are going to school. So I used to work at a school called International Academy of Design Technology, where I was recruiting people to go to school for like fashion design, art, merchandise, and stuff like that. And the tuition would be about $80,000. But it would be sad to see that most of those people, after you took out $80,000 worth of loans, they couldn't even find a job that was even going to pay them many times $20,000 a year. Wow. So we're talking about people being slave, a new type of slavery. We're talking about being, you know, a debt slave for the rest of your life, trying to pay off student loans.
Debt slavery. We got a caller. We're going to come back to that debt slavery and something that's even more powerful than that. Caller, speak.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Medina?
Great.
How your holidays working out for you guys, okay?
Oh, it's a blessing. We hearing you seeing us living in the flesh. What more can we say?
That was a beautiful picture of the brain that you drew over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's certain parts of that brain I'd like to ask you about.
Yes.
What is the good part where it makes the love? Where's the part where to make the love in the brain? Bring that brain back out.
I got you right here.
Where you at? Let me see that.
All right. The part that make the love.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it's somewhere in the thalamus or the hypothalamus. You know?
You say all them words absolutely perfect.
I'm going to say up here by number 1 or by number 3, the thalamus and the hypothalamus. I think they connected to the dreams, you know, as well, and your emotions and how you feel.
That's a part you got to draw on all the walls. The part where it makes you happy.
Yes.
That's the hypothalamus. That's what makes us happy.
Yes, that's it right there. And you know what it's about? That's why we love to promote art to make people happy.
You do it perfectly.
Yes.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yes, one more.
You know, you see them trains going by every day with all them beautiful artworks on them, with them big old letters and things that they draw, them little boys, the magical people, you know.
The elves?
the elves that draw on everywhere, on the
Yes.
trains, on the walls, the markers.
Yes.
That's some beautiful artwork. If
Yes,
they
ma'am.
can put those words in a frame or whatever they're trying to say in a good way, they got some beautiful arts on them trains, on the walls.
Yes, ma'am. You can't
Hey, are
can't
you an
keep
artist?
you
What's your
can't
name?
hold art back, because art is love. You know, and they putting love on them trains.
They better put
Them
love
people might be in
everywhere.
pain, but the way that they get out of their pain is they're expressing that love and they sharing that love with you, and you
Well,
feel that love when it drive by you.
I'll tell you one thing, when I sit at them train stations and they going by for 20 minutes, at least it's something good to look at.
Yeah, that's nice. Let me ask you, why are you on the line? Because I want to jump to something that's serious that I think many of us can relate to. All right?
Listen, you're doing a good job. I'll call y'all later. Have a blessed holiday and be safe.
You too, ma'am. I appreciate you and bless you and love you too.
Go on now.
All right.
Say something, little guy with that hat.
I don't know you, but I love you, baby. I love you. I love you.
Yes, ma'am. She gonna be the president of our fan club right there. Keep her on the line, Mr. Engineer. We got to get her information so we can send her a T-shirt.
She sound like my Aunt Joyce. I got an Aunt Joyce. She talk just like that. I remember my aunt.
Yeah, but man, that's the type of love we
Yeah,
need. You
absolutely.
know what I mean? That's it right there. You know, we need to keep putting that out there. Englewood Enterprise Gallery. My man Dwayne Jackson, Dr. Jackson 360. All right, most definitely. Before we make our next point, you can definitely like us on Facebook, get more information about the projects that me and Dr. Jackson got going on, coming down the pipeline with the Englewood Enterprise Gallery and community development. Now, we were talking about banks, all right, and banks having the power and what's going on with the economic situation. And there's another critical point that we were getting to, because I know you very knowledgeable about this, peer-to-peer money.
Yeah.
Bitcoin. What is it? What is a blockchain? And what does it mean to the future?
Yeah, you know what? So right now, there's a huge change that is happening. So one of the first changes that happened was something called the internet, right? We saw how the internet changed everything in our lives, right? The way that we go about producing art, the way we broadcast ourselves, everything. We look at the music industry, everything has changed ever since the internet has came out. What was funny though is when it first came out, initially, the late 90s, a lot of people didn't take it serious because they didn't understand it.
Right.
So now what happens is technology is advancing, and now there's a new version of the internet. It's the internet. You had the internet.com era, then you had what was called social media era, right? And now you have what's called the blockchain era, right? So the blockchain era that we live in now is no longer about the information age. Now the internet is about the internet of things. Now it's about connecting actual things, our appliances, our phones, our refrigerator. All of these things will begin to communicate with each other, and what's going to be responsible. One of the first things that's ushering this new wave in is the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology.
Okay.
And a lot of people, when they hear about this, they just think about money. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a huge opportunity with money, right? Because Bitcoin is a digital asset. It's basically like digital money. It's a digital bank account. The difference is you are the bank. You don't have to do a traditional bank. There's no middleman. There's no government that regulates or that's over it, and there's no company. Just like the internet, no one owns the internet. No government controls it, and so that's what the blockchain and Bitcoin is. And so with that, it comes a lot of great opportunity, but it also comes with a lot of scary things if you're not educated.
Yes.
If you're not educated.
Right, education is the key. Bringing it back around to that eye that we was talking about. I'm going to put the eye up, they sending me the wrap-up signal and whatnot, so we going to blink that eye of love like the lady was talking about to them and put more love and art out there in the atmosphere. And I want to thank my man, Dr. Jackson 360, Mr. Dwayne Jackson, for coming out. We wish we had more time, and maybe if we had an extra 5 minutes, we could say some more powerful stuff. But as always, they trying to run us out the studio, so what can we do? We're going to get out of here. We got one more show this season. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, all right? And peace and love. Englewood Enterprise Gallery, Shy Rise Show. Shy Rise, not Chirac. Peace and blessings.